How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here, do me a huge favor, go down and subscribe before we get started. Today we're going to be talking about rev matching and downshifting, and most importantly, engine braking. Now, for some reason, I've seen a lot of people, anytime I do talk about engine braking or when other people talk about engine braking, people say one of the two things: that engine braking is a good way to drive, to save brakes, to always be in the optimal position you need to be. And number two, I hear people saying that engine braking is useless and it puts excessive wear on the motor and transmission and all of the stuff like that. And I'm going to give you guys my 2 cents on it, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether you should be doing it, or whether you should be avoiding engine braking at whatever cost. I think the easiest way to do this is to take the Mustang out, talk about what downshifting is with rev matching, what engine braking is, and whether or not you should be doing it. So I think the easiest way to start this video off is by talking about what is rev match, downshifting, and engine braking, and then determining whether you should be doing it or not. So downshifting is the act of going from a higher gear to a lower gear. For example, I'm currently in 4th gear, so if I'm going from 4th to 3rd, that's called downshifting. When you're downshifting, you're essentially matching the rotation of the engine, thus making a very smooth transition in a shift. If you don't rev match when you downshift, your car is gonna buck a little bit, or you might experience a little bit of clutch burn as well. For the most part, I always rev match when I downshift. One of the great benefits of having a newer manual car like this is on a daily basis, when I'm not driving and trying to enjoy and have fun, and I'm just cruising on a normal basis, if I do downshift, it automatically revs match for me. In an older car, you're gonna have to blip the throttle or use heel toe downshifting when you're going around a track. That's basically the essence of downshifting. It's really simple, really easy. But when do you downshift? In a track situation, you want to be in the lowest gear you can possibly be in to make sure you're in the best power band for your car, because you want to be pushing the car around those corners. In a normal situation, on a normal driving road, anytime you're going to downshift is either when you're slowing down, let's say the speed limit changes from a 50 to a 35. But is that the only situation where you would need to downshift on a normal basis? Now, it depends. Now, there's a thing called engine braking. So I'm in 4th gear right now, I'm going 40 miles per hour. I downshift into 3rd, my car's gonna slow itself down because there's more resistance on the car when the RPM's a little bit higher. That's called engine braking. When approaching a stop sign, some people like to engine brake. So that means that they go from 4th to 3rd gear to gradually slow the car down. It's putting less wear on the brakes because you're not using the brakes as much. The momentum of the car, the engine of the car, is slowing itself down. Then from 3rd, they go to 2nd. Something you never do when driving a manual car is go from 2nd to 1st gear. So I'm approaching a stop sign. I'm gonna go into 3rd, have my foot covering the brake and slowing down. The car is gonna slow itself down. If I had it in neutral like I do now, I'm still approaching the stop sign, there's no resistance on anything. The only thing working is strictly my brakes. So the question is, should you be engine braking? In my opinion, for driving a manual car for over 3 years now, and I also had a car that would engine brake because it was hybrid assisted ever since I got my license nearly 5 years ago now, you should be engine braking. Maybe you don't have to go from 3rd to 2nd gear, but you shouldn't be going from 5th gear into neutral. That puts excessive wear on the brakes. But on top of that, think about it. If you're going in 5th gear and you're not engine braking and you're putting it into neutral, you have a 2-ton, 4-ton car that's coasting in neutral, and the only thing that you're relying on is the brakes to slow it down. On top of that, not just your brake wear, if there's an emergency situation and you need to avoid it, you're in neutral. If you need to accelerate out of the way, you now have no idea what your RPM should be, and you need to essentially guess a gear and guess the RPM at which the engine and the transmission are going to be happy. So you're probably wondering why someone would not want to engine brake. What's the point of not engine braking? So, it puts wear on the clutch. Yes. It puts wear on the transmission. Yes. It puts wear on the motor. Yes. You know what else puts wear on a clutch and a transmission? Shifting from 3rd to 4th. as long as you're rev matching those downshifts, you should have minimal wear on a clutch and a transmission, especially your transmission. You know how strong transmissions are? They're not going to break because you're engine braking. You know how built motors are. Motors are not going to blow up because you engine brake. Sure, it's going to have a little bit of premature wear. Highly unnoticeable. Extremely unnoticeable. And the argument's always, brakes cost me, you know, a couple $100. A motor's going to cost me $10,000. But in reality, the thing is if you're rev matching, you do it properly, and you're not slamming gears and downshifting, you're not going to run into a situation where your motor is going to blow up, or your clutch is going to blow up, or your transmission is going to blow up because you rev match downshifted really calmly to engine brake to a stop sign. And the thing is, with downshifting and engine braking, there's way more than just saving your brake. You can save yourself from emergency situations. We have no idea when something could happen in front of us that would require us to accelerate out of the way. In some cases, if a car gets T-boned in front of you, the only thing you can do is accelerate out of the way, because your braking period is not going to be enough and you're going to hit the car in front of you. In certain situations, you have to accelerate. And if you do not have the ability to do so because you decided not to engine brake, you're going to end up crashing. And contrary to popular belief, your motor is not going to blow up and your transmission isn't going to see an extensive amount of wear because you downshifted. In an automatic transmission, your motor does the same thing. If you're going around a corner, or if you're coming to a stop sign, an automatic transmission isn't just going from 6th gear to neutral because it knows you're stopping. An automatic transmission has no idea what you're doing. It's always going to put you in an optimal situation to go from brake to the gas pedal. And that's the same thing you should be doing in a manual transmission. In a manual, you can obviously see what you're doing. You can obviously know that you're coming to a stop. In an automatic, the car doesn't have any idea of if you're coming to a stop or if you're just slowing down. The car is putting itself in the optimal situation to where if you are slowing down, it's in the right gear. If you are stopping, it's assisting you a little bit with the engine braking. Automatic cars engine brake a little bit. I mean, it's not as much as a manual car. You don't feel the effects as much. But a car like a Tesla, car like a Prius, something that has the electric assist, those engine brake, and you can feel the engine brake because they're trying to regenerate electricity. Engine braking is simply just revving your motor up. If you think about it, if you literally just rev your car when it's parked, it's the same thing as engine braking. It's just blipping the throttle a little bit and just shifting a gear like normal. And sure, it might put a very minimal amount of wear on the motor and the transmission, but I think the pros and cons, I think engine braking, to an extent, you should be doing it at least to slow yourself down until 3rd gear. That's all I have for this video though. If you learned something, if you enjoyed the video, do me a huge favor, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. But other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.